everybody to the video podcast. We're calling this from the Dean's office, and we're having a lot of fun with it. Today we've got another esteemed guest, Megan Bell from Student Life. I guess before we kind of get started, like really rolling, to share your title and what you do.
Yes. So I'm the coordinator of Civic and Community Engagement and Student Leadership Development for Campus Life. So a little bit of what I do is community service, voter registration, voter engagement, a lot of leadership development programming. So anything that can aid those students within those aspects outside of the classroom.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. I think to start out, like we do most folks, is tell us a little bit about your background. Like, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? And kind of get us rolling in that direction.
Yes. So I am from La Paz, Mexico. It is on the peninsula of Mexico, and it is 2 hours away from Cabo, so right above it. A lot of people may have not heard of La Paz, but they've heard of Cabo, so I always try and reference it. I was born and raised there. My dad moved from Texas at one point, long time ago, and met my mom there, so a lot of people always ask me, like, oh, I don't hear an accent. I was raised bilingual because my dad is American, so that is why some people can't hear an accent, but that Spanish is my first language, and that is where I was born and raised. I did a year of high school in Dallas, Texas to try and learn school in English before I came to college because I knew that I wanted to go to college in the States.
Sure.
So that's a little bit of my background on how I got to at least where I am before my studies.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you spent a year in, so what high school was it in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
Coppell High School.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I lived in Carrollton for a short time. You probably know where that's at in that area. So it's always interested me. You spent a year in high school in the United States, and you're thinking about college and you know your dreams. What kind of things did you want to study in college, and kind of how did you choose a school?
So I am a tennis player. I've been playing tennis since I was 3. My dad is also a tennis coach, so tennis has always been in our family, and it was always known that if we wanted to go to college in the States, we had to get a scholarship, so we had to be good enough to get a scholarship. So that was our goal always, to try and make our level to be good enough to get a college scholarship. And a little bit of how I got to here is...
So you chose Arkansas Tech as your undergrad institution.
Yes.
Okay.
I had multiple options based off the scholarships that I received.
Okay.
But Arkansas Tech University was the only one that I had visited because my sister came here prior to me coming here. And I saw the facilities and I met the tennis coach. And I honestly, like, that's the only thing that I stayed in my mind when I was deciding on, and I had a great scholarship offer from this university to play tennis. So when I looked at everything together based off weather, what was the best weather, the program, the academics into that, and the coach, this was the best offer for me and the best fit. So.
It's funny you talk about weather, because I think about when I took the job here too,
Yeah.
weather was a factor. I'm like,
yes.
I have to get back to my weather is what I call it. And people are like, it's 110 in the summer. I'm like, yes it is, and that's why I'm going.
Same.
So your sister, so I didn't know that about you, so I know a little bit of your background, but I didn't know your sisters. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And so you chose to come to Tech to play tennis. And tell me about your academic endeavors there. So what major did you choose, and how did you choose your major?
So I did my undergrad in communication broadcast journalism and my master's in multimedia journalism. How I got there was a little bit of what I wanted to do when I was little. It was always, I was not always on social media, but I learned a lot of the women's stuff that I do, I guess, off YouTube.
Sure.
And I wanted to be a YouTuber at one point, and I wanted to do videos and all that. But then I quickly realized that I didn't like being in front of the camera, so that wasn't going to work for me.
I want to apologize then.
No, you're good. When it's more of a conversation-based, I can do it. But my mom taught me a lot of the things, but she didn't know, like, a lot of makeup because she doesn't wear a lot of makeup. So I was like, okay, where can I learn it? So I just went off the platform of YouTube, and I loved it. And then I started getting intrigued on, well, all these people that do it know how to edit, know how to do all the voiceovers, all the things that go into broadcasting, and certain things of like news and stuff. So when I was trying to decide what to do, my dad and I like put out a list of my options on what I could potentially like and could be good at and have a future in, hopefully. So when I looked at all the specifics in the catalog on what it offers and what I could do in the future with it, broadcast was one of my favorite ones in journalism, so that's what I went with, yeah.
There's I forget the name of it, kind of a similar vein, there's a YouTube channel of a guy that said, it's basically if you didn't have a dad growing up, I'll teach you how to do the dad things.
Yeah.
And as an adult, I've gone to that channel to learn how to do a few
Yes.
things like plumbing and whatnot. And I think that's one of the beauties of that piece of social media, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're here, you're playing tennis, you get your bachelor's degree, you went your master's degree. What point did you start getting involved in the student life aspect of things and making that your next kind of chapter?
So, as a student athlete, we were highly involved in community service and stuff like that, but we didn't always have the time to attend many of the programming that I put on for students now. So I went to some SAB events and things like that, but honestly where I got involved was in grad school. And this is going to be a whole story, but I never thought that I was going to get a master's. It was never in my mind. I am the first one in my family to get a master's, so that's not where my route was. But I was in school during COVID, and as a student athlete, I redshirted my first year. So when my coach looked at my eligibility, I still had 2 years left technically to be able to play, and I love the sport. I've played it since I was 3, and I will continue to play it until my body decides I can't anymore. So she said, would you like to stay and do grad school and play some more tennis? And I said, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was a great offer, and that is honestly how I thought of even doing a master's and continuing my education. So once I got into grad school, I was taking night classes, and I had up here in a classroom, she was actually a graduate assistant for Campus Life and was leaving that spot and was going somewhere else, and she said, hey, you would be a great fit for this position that I'm about to walk away from, you should apply. And I was like, whoa, what is a graduate assistantship? Like, I personally didn't know anything about it because that had never been my life at ATU per se. So when I started looking into it, I was like, well, this is great. I can get way more involved as well. I can still be a student athlete. I can do all the duties that I have. And like my classes are now at nighttime, so I have my days free that I don't have class. So that is honestly how I got to be a little bit more involved. So when I applied, it was all through WebEx and everything because it was right in the middle of COVID. And got the offer when I was back home in Mexico, and that was great to hear. So when I came back, I jumped right into what is Campus Life, what all we do, programming, learning all the aspects, and I was actually a graduate assistant for my office that I'm over now, but only half of it, so the civic engagement side of it.
Right.
Sorry,
cool.
That was a lot.
No, it's perfect. It was perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's a winding road to get to where you're going, right?
Yeah.
So I think the next thing, tell me a little bit more about what you do in your current role, the different programs, and I know you and I have talked about some different civic engagement type stuff before, but I guess for folks that may watch this, what does your job entail now? What kind of things do you do?
So some of our biggest programming that we do through our office, I would say the first one that is always our biggest one because it starts in August when students come back, would be Freshman Leadership Experience. Freshman Leadership Experience is a 2-night, 3-day retreat that we do with incoming students, and it's an application-based. So any incoming freshman applies for this, and we send out mailers and all kinds of stuff so they find out about it, to where they can interact with alike peers that are interested in growing in their journey as they're at Arkansas Tech University. And we go and do so many fun activities. We've zip lined before, we've hiked, we've done all the things, and we pay all the expenses for it, so it is a very fun retreat where you learn a lot of things about not just the university, but yourself, and get to meet a lot of peers. So that's one of our biggest programming that we do at the beginning of the semester for our office. We also have Green and Gold Give Back, which is another one of our biggest events. This is a community service event, campus-wide, and we normally get around 200 student participants during that day, and we go average about 35 to 45 sites all over the community to clean up or paint or do any sort of thing that somebody in the community may need when they personally can't do it because of whatever it may be physically, or if they don't have enough people to do it. So that's another one that we do. And then another one that I always like to point out is Women's Week, because we do so many important programming during that week. We do, and this is with many partnerships. If we would not be able to do most of these events without so many partnerships across campus. We have Walk a Mile, where we have partnership with SAB, and we do a lot of important programming for sexual violence awareness and stuff like that. So those are our biggest ones that we do that I always like to highlight, because I think they kind of showcase a little bit of what we do.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. And so I know that Student Life also has a lot of GA positions, and you kind of alluded to that a little bit previously. And that's kind of something else I'd like to hear a little bit more about.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the roles that GAs play in student life, and maybe some of the little pockets where we have them embedded here in Arkansas Tech?
So I could not fully tell you the amount of graduate assistants that we have right now, because we're changing a lot of things. But my office specifically, we will have 2 graduate assistants. So we have one for specifically the leadership kind of role, and another one for the civic engagement, but they mix and match a lot. So within campus life, they get to work with all the other offices that we have, even if they are supervised by my office.
So like maybe some of the other spots where you have GAs in student life?
We have RDs, obviously, but that's within student affairs. But we have some for orientation. We have one that oversees student activities board. We have some for campus recreation. I'm probably missing more, but we probably have more. But a lot of what our our graduate assistants do, and what we like to hopefully give them within their time that they are with us, they implement and plan a lot of what we do for our offices. So I like to think that I'm young, but I also don't know exactly what our students want, because I am not that population anymore. So our graduate assistants are the closest in age to our student body right now. They were just there, so they are the ones that can tell us best on what you think they want. They may still have friends in undergrad that they can go ask. So we always like to hear their perspective on what they think the students will like and want. So they do a lot of the implementing and planning, obviously with our guidance, but they get to do a lot of the behind the scenes stuff for whenever, if this is what they want to choose as a career, when they go into the field, they have actually done the things. So we like to give them the tools to be able to, once they step forward in that career path, they have done it and stuff like that. So that's, I think, a great thing that we do with our graduate assistants.
Sure, absolutely. You kind of hit the nail on the head as, giving them kind of the breadth of experiences they had.
Yeah.
I was a GA for campus recreation. I feel young too. So I'm going to say not too long ago. I think it was the other day, or I don't say when, the other day, I got a haircut, and somebody said, like, you look like an older version of so-and-so. I'm like, oh. Burned a little bit, right?
Hurtful.
Yeah. And, but anyway, but I think it is important, like you said, is, to understand that the younger folks and connecting to them and having people in place that can make those connections and those people is important. And it's cool to see student life embracing, getting GAs, as they are in kind of a special place. They still, most of the time, right, are still young and connected to those young audiences, but you normally get a more mature person that can take on some of those responsibilities and some roles like that. So I think, given where you're at with student life and the things you've done, and you've got whether it's a GA or an undergrad student or whoever it may be. So this will be my final question, I guess. It's like the final countdown here is, if you have somebody that's kind of looking to say, you know, I think what Megan's doing is so awesome. I'd love to do that myself as a career, or something maybe, you know, I'd like to do something kind of related to what she does or whatnot. And also, I guess also knowing your kind of winding path to get to where you're at.
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give students as far as, I guess it's twofold, so it's two questions in one. It's like as far as a major and what they study, and then as far as advice for how they kind of migrate professionally.
I think advice-wise, I would go with, don't be afraid to come to our offices and ask us. I've had many students do internships with me for either classes or personal, so they can learn really what we do and they get hands-on experience. So I've had students do internships with me for a semester and they get to plan and implement just like a graduate assistant with certain events, and they get to do certain things. So we also like to ask a lot of our students to just come in and hang out in our space so they can see how we work and what we do. So they also get to learn a little bit more on the inside things of, oh, this is going on, I didn't even know about it, and this is what this office offers, and that is a great resource that I could have used last year, but I didn't know about it. So just even hanging out in our space, we have a student area where they come and just hang out. We have snacks all the time and stuff like that. So
I did not know you had snacks.
we do have snacks. We try and keep it stocked. It's not always because they like the snacks. But just hanging out there and meeting new people too, to see where else you can get involved, not just maybe within my office, but other areas of like student activities board hangs out in there all the time. You meet a friend, maybe you want to be on the board next year, maybe you want to get involved and do all the things. So that is just an advice I always give, just be present. Don't be afraid to go and knock on someone's door. Most of us have an open door policy of like, come in, ask the question, get to know us, all kinds of stuff. So that is what I always try and tell students, like, don't be afraid. Like, most of us have been in your shoes. We were all at college. We got here somehow. So, like, come and ask us questions.
Sure.
Yeah.
Does anything, now that you are in the role and now that you've had some experiences, do you feel like your major and what you studied kind of help prepare you for what you're doing?
I really do think. We do a lot of marketing and design and just promoting our events to where it's like the planning and the social media and all those aspects. Even though we have a team for that, I'm able to take on those things and do some myself rather than just push them on the social media team or anything like that. And or I have a lens that I know the vision that I want and I understand what can be done for it. So when I do tell our team that is something that we want to do, I understand a little bit of the background and stuff like that. I'm not fully using exactly what I did, but I learned so much from it to where it really does help me in certain areas within my job to be able to do certain things different than maybe somebody else would.
I know when I was in campus rec, that, you know, they would say a lot of the people had recreation backgrounds or whatnot, and they would say, you know, you need a rec background. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
You can get here from multiple directions, and actually, maybe having a diversity of backgrounds among the team is probably the best bet.
Yeah.
If everybody came from the same program, it would not be, you know, as much of a well-rounded team.
Exactly.
So, Megan, I really appreciate you joining us here today. Thank you so
Yes.
much, and then we'll look forward to seeing you on camera.
Yes, thank you for having me.